Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about final BSc, that is third BSc Biochemistry 5A paper, that is Physiology, Clinical Biochemistry and Immunology. From this unit, we are discussing about Unit 1 topics. Now let's see about the topic digestion and absorption of carbohydrates. Okay, digestion and absorption of carbohydrates. Now let's start the topic. Digestion basically is a process involving the hydrolysis of large complex organic molecules of foodstuff into smaller and preferably water soluble molecules which can be easily absorbed by the gastrointestinal tract. That means digestion is the process which involves hydrolysis of larger complex organic molecules that which we take through our food into smaller and preferably water soluble molecules, and which will provide absorption of this foodstuffs into gastrointestinal tract. After taking of food, what happens? All the foodstuff what we have taken gets hydrolyzed into smaller and water soluble molecules. That means the foodstuff which we take through our diet will be broke down into smaller and simpler molecules which can be easily soluble in water, and by that simpler molecules which are soluble in water, this can be easily absorbed through the gastrointestinal tract. Okay, that means digestion is ultimately useful for the absorption of the foodstuff which we take through our diet. And coming to digestion and absorption of carbohydrates, we take different kinds of food material in our diet, like carbohydrates or fats related food materials or proteins. These are all taken through our diet. Now let's see about this digestion and absorption of carbohydrates. The principal dietary carbohydrates are polysaccharides like starch, glycogen, and disaccharides like lactose, sucrose, and to a major extent monosaccharides like glucose and fructose. That means through our diet, major carbohydrates that we take in our diet are like polysaccharide components like starch and glycogen, disaccharide components like lactose and sucrose, and monosaccharide components like glucose and fructose. These are the major sources of carbohydrates that we take through diet. Digestion of carbohydrates occurs in three major stages: digestion in the mouth, digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach, and finally digestion of carbohydrates in the small intestine. Here, firstly, digestion of carbohydrates starts at the mouth. In the second stage, it gets digested at stomach, and finally in the small intestine. Here, one important point about digestion of carbohydrates is in any food stuff that we take or any biomolecule that we intake, only carbohydrates are digested in the mouth. Okay, not all foodstuffs are digested in the mouth except carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates are digested in the mouth due to the presence of alpha amylase enzyme in the saliva which is present in our mouth. Now let's see how digestion of carbohydrates in mouth will occur. Carbohydrates are the only nutrients for which the digestion begins in the mouth to a significant extent during the process of mastication. Okay, as said earlier, digestion of carbohydrates starts with mouth only. Carbohydrates get digested initially in the mouth during the process of mastication. Mastication is nothing but while eating our food, we undergo mastication to for the proper digestion of food. During that process of mastication, while we are moving our lower and upper jaws, during that process what happens, this carbohydrates get digested initially, and during mastication of food in the mouth, salivary alpha amylase acts on starch randomly and cleaves alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. Okay, that means this alpha amylase enzyme mainly act on starch, which is the major carbohydrate that we consume. Okay, this starch is mostly present in rice. Okay, if we white rice is the large source of starch, and on this particular starch salivary alpha amylase acts, and it what it does, it cleaves the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds which are present in the starch. In starch, both alpha 1,4 and alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds are present, but salivary alpha amylase can only cleave alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. It can only act on alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. And the products formed from after the cleavage of alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds are alpha limidextrin, maltose and maltotriose. So these are the three major products formed after the digestion of carbohydrates or digestion of starch at mouth. And the next step is digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. Digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. Here the enzyme salivary amylase is inactive by high acidity. That is, due to the high acidic nature of stomach, salivary amylase is inactive in the stomach. So carbohydrates are not digested in the stomach. That means even though carbohydrates pass through the stomach, but they are not digested in the stomach, as stomach stomach pH level is very low. That means it is acidic in nature due to the presence of dilute HCl and all. Because of these components, pH of stomach is very low, and this will not support the action of salivary amylase, and ultimately there will be no digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. And the third step is digestion of carbohydrates in the small intestine. What happens here? Let's see. The acidity dietary contents of the stomach on reaching small intestine are neutralized by bicarbonate produced by pancreas. Here what happens? The acidic dietary contents of the stomach on reaching small intestine are neutralized by bicarbonate products produced by pancreas. That means when passing through stomach, what happens? This foodstuff will be acidified. Okay, and this particular acidic dietary contents will reach small intestine, and here acidic nature is not necessary for the further digestion process. That's why this acidic dietary contents are neutralized by action of bicarbonates. Okay, and these bicarbonates will be produced from pancreas, and these bicarbonates will decrease the acidic nature of the dietary contents which are received from the stomach. And the pancreatic alpha amylase acts on starch and continues the digestion process. What happens? Pancreatic alpha amylase. Okay, this is not similar to the amylase that we seen in the mouth, that is salivary alpha amylase. Here we observe in small intestine pancreatic alpha amylase, and this pancreatic alpha amylase acts on starch and continues the digestion process. And amylase specifically acts on alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds and not on alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds. In the earlier step also, while discussing about salivary alpha amylase, we have seen that it breaks down alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds present in the starch. So here also, even the pancreatic alpha amylase also acts on alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds only and not on alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds. And here the resultant products are disaccharides like maltose and isomaltose, and also oligosaccharides will be produced. That means after the activity of pancreatic alpha amylase, then what will happen? End products will be like disaccharides and oligosaccharides. And final digestion of disaccharides and oligosaccharides to monosaccharides will be carried. And the final digestion of disaccharides and oligosaccharides to monosaccharides primarily occurs at the mucosal lining of the upper jejunum. That means further process will occur at mucosal lining of the upper jejunum. This is one of the specific part in small intestine. And this is carried out by oligosaccharides, that is glucoamylase acting on amylase, and disaccharides like maltose, sucrose, maltase, sucrase and lactase. So what happens next? The further digestion of disaccharides and oligosaccharides into monosaccharides. That means here every component should be in the form of a monomer. That's why what happens, these polysaccharides or disaccharides or oligosaccharides should be converted into monosaccharides. And how the digestion of these disaccharides and oligosaccharides into monosaccharides happens is, this particularly occurs at the mucosal lining of the upper jejunum, where oligosaccharides are digested using glucoamylase acting on amylase enzyme. That means these two enzymes act on these particular oligosaccharides. And on disaccharides, like if disaccharide maltose is present, maltose is present, maltase will act on that. And if disaccharide sucrose is present, sucrase will act. If disaccharide lactose is present, lactase will act. In this manner, disaccharides will be digested. And the enzyme sucrase is capable of hydrolyzing a large quantity of table sugar sucrose. That means what happens in our daily diet, what happens, we'll take huge amount of sugars. Okay, that's why this enzyme sucrase is capable of hydrolyzing large quantities of table sugar or sucrose. Okay, this is not sucrase, this is sucrose. Okay, if you see the reactions, starch will be converted into dextrin or maltose or isomaltose by the action of alpha amylase, and sucrose will be converted into monomers glucose and fructose by sucrase or invertase enzymes, and maltose can be converted into monomers glucose by maltase enzyme, and lactose can be converted into glucose and galactose by the enzyme lactase. Okay, these are the reactions that will happen in the small intestine. Okay, now all the monomers like glucose, fructose, galactose, these all are present now. So these should be absorbed for the energy liberation. Okay, that means we eat our food to get energy. So for that, this food should be digested and should be absorbed, so that our body cells can utilize the monosaccharides and ultimately result in the liberation of energy. Okay, so now let's see about the absorption of monosaccharides. The principal monosaccharides produced by digestion of carbohydrates are glucose, fructose and galactose. Okay, majorly produced monosaccharides are glucose, fructose and galactose, and glucose accounts for nearly 80% of the total monosaccharides. That means completely after completion of food digestion, what happens, around 80% of the monomer is or monosaccharide produced is glucose. And the absorption of sugars mostly takes place in the duodenum and jejunum of small intestine. That means digestion also happens at the jejunum, and absorption of sugars also takes place at duodenum and jejunum of small intestine. Here hexoses are more rapidly absorbed than pentoses. That means here hexoses means these are the carbohydrates which have 6 carbons in their structure are called as hexoses, whereas pentoses are the 5 carbon carbohydrates. Okay, that means here in the small intestine what happens, hexoses are more rapidly absorbed. Examples for hexoses are like fructose, glucose and all. Okay, these are most rapidly absorbed. And further, among the monosaccharides, galactose is most efficiently absorbed, followed by glucose and fructose. That means mostly galactose is very fastly absorbed, and next glucose and fructose are in the second place for the absorption of carbohydrates. Now let's see the mechanism of absorption. Okay, now let's see the absorption mechanism. Different sugars possesses different mechanisms for their absorption. Glucose is transported in the intestinal mucosal cells by a carrier mediated and energy required process. That means every individual sugar component have different mechanisms for their absorption. That means not all the monosaccharides or not all the sugars are sharing the same mechanism of absorption in our body. Here each and every sugar will have its their own mechanism for absorption. And glucose is transported into intestinal mucosa cells. That means this glucose is transported into intestinal mucosal cells, and this is done by carrier mediated and energy required process. That means one carrier molecule will be involved and also energy requiring process. This is an energy requiring process which need a carrier and a energy components also. Here glucose and sodium that is Na plus ion share the same transport system, that is same symport for the absorption. That means here glucose and sodium ions share the same transport system, which is referred to as sodium dependent glucose transporter. That means this transport system is named as sodium dependent glucose transporter, and by this system glucose and sodium ions are transported. That means sodium will be transported to one side of the membrane, and on the opposite side of the membrane glucose will be transported, and in the same way this glucose and sodium ions will be transported. Okay, the concentration of Na plus is higher in the intestinal lumen compared to mucosal cells. That means based on the concentration of sodium ions and the glucose glucose molecules, this transportation will depend on. And concentration of sodium ion is higher in intestinal lumen when compared to mucosal cells, and sodium ion therefore moves into the cells along its concentration gradient, and simultaneously glucose is transported into the intestinal cells. This is mediated by the same carrier system. That means what happens, as its concentration is very high in intestinal lumen, this Na plus ions move into the cells along its concentration gradient. That means based on its concentration gradients, these Na plus ions will move, and simultaneously glucose is transported into the intestinal cells. That means Na plus is higher in intestinal lumen and glucose is higher in mucosal cell. What will happen now? Concentration which is high in mucosal cell, that is glucose, will be escaped to intestinal lumen, and Na plus concentration is high in intestinal lumen, and Na plus ions will be escaped into mucosal cells. That means interconversion of Na plus ions into mucosal cells, and glucose molecules escape into intestinal lumen will simultaneously happen, and this is done by same carrier system. Thus Na plus diffuses into the cell and it drags glucose along with it. That means here Na plus along with it, it drags glucose molecule, and the intestinal Na plus gradient is the immediate energy source for glucose transport. This energy is indirectly supplied by ATP. That means for the transport of this glucose molecule, Na plus gradient is the main energy source, and it will require ATP, it will require energy from ATP. Since the entry of Na plus against the concentration gradient into the intestinal lumen is an energy requiring active process. That means this entry of Na plus, that is, it will move towards the lower concentration. That means it will move away from the concentration gradient and into the intestinal lumen, and this requires energy in the form of ATP. And the enzyme Na plus K plus ATPase is involved in the transport of Na plus in exchange of K plus against the concentration gradient. That means here Na plus will move on to other gradient, and simultaneously K plus will be moving to the opposite side. And the mechanism of absorption of galactose is similar to that of glucose. That means the pathway for, or the mechanism for absorption of galactose is similar to that of galactose also. And the inhibitor fluorescein blocks the Na plus dependent transport of glucose and galactose in some cases. That means for the transportation process also inhibitors like fluorescein are also present. Okay, if you see the reaction here, starch is converted into maltose or dextrin. Okay, maltose molecules or dextrin molecules by amylase, and here one H2O molecule is utilized. If you see the diagram, you can understand the reaction very well. Here what happens? Intestinal lumen and intestinal mucosal cell both are present. What happens here? Glucose and Na plus will be in high concentration in the intestinal lumen, and these are pulled, this Na plus will move on to the intestinal mucosal cell based on the concentration gradient, and along with Na plus what happens, it also takes glucose along with it, and the Na plus molecule which is entering the intestinal mucosal membrane, mucosal cell, it will again moves out of the mucosal cell with the help of Na plus K plus gradient system. Okay, here Na plus K plus ATPase enzyme will act, and here along with K plus, this Na plus will move. That means if Na plus is moved out of the glucosal cell, that means here one K plus molecule is entering. Here both move in an opposite direction. If Na plus enters, K plus will escape. If K plus is entering, Na plus will escape. So in this manner, Na plus will help in the absorption of glucose and also galactose. That means here both the monosaccharides will share the same absorption mechanism. So now let's see once again about this digestion and absorption of glucose, that is carbohydrates. Here this digestion mostly takes place in 3 steps. How? By digestion of carbohydrates in mouth, digestion of carbohydrates in stomach, and digestion of carbohydrates in small intestine. Here digestion starts at the mouth, and carbohydrates are the only food components or foodstuffs which can be digested in mouth. Not all foodstuffs are digested in the mouth. Okay, and these carbohydrates are digested in mouth with the help of salivary alpha amylase. And this salivary alpha amylase acts on which type of carbohydrate? That is on starch. Here starch is the major food substance that we feed. Okay, as we eat carbohydrates in larger and larger quantities, starch is the major carbohydrate that we see in the food. Okay, and this starch is broke down into different molecules with the action of salivary alpha amylase. And this salivary alpha amylase, it acts on the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds which are present in the starch. Okay, starch consists of both alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds and also alpha 1,6 glycosidic bonds, but it acts only on the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds. Not only salivary alpha amylase but also pancreatic alpha amylase will also act on the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond. And after action of alpha amylase, that is salivary alpha amylase on starch, it will produce alpha limit-dextrin molecules and maltose molecules and also maltotriose molecules. So these are the 3 products that will be formed after the cleavage of alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds in the starch. Okay. Next, digestion of carbohydrates in the stomach. Here digestion is not, carbohydrates are not at all digested in stomach. Here, why? Because activity of salivary amylase or any amylase activity is inhibited by the acidic nature of the stomach. That means here both carbohydrates are digested in mouth but not digested in stomach. Okay. Why? Because due to the acidic nature of the stomach. In this acidic nature of stomach is due to the presence of dilute HCl. Okay, that's why we can't see the digestion process in stomach. These carbohydrates are not digested in the stomach. And next, this food stuff from stomach is moved into the small intestine, and now this food dietary contents or the food contents, these are acidic in nature due to the as these dietary contents are passed through the stomach, these are in acidic nature. And firstly, these dietary contents should be decreased of their acidic nature. The acidity or acidic nature of this dietary content should be decreased. Why? Because activity of amylase is not seen if the acidic conditions are present. That's why firstly, for the further digestion process, this dietary contents acidity should be decreased, and for that purpose, immediately after reaching small intestine, these acidic dietary contents are neutralized by bicarbonate products. Okay, and these bicarbonates are released from pancreas. This pancreas will release bicarbonates, and these bicarbonates will neutralize the dietary components, and after neutralization of the dietary components, what will happen? Alpha amylase. This is not salivary alpha amylase, this is pancreatic alpha amylase. This pancreatic alpha amylase act on starch. Okay, these act on starch and continues the digestion process. That means till now what happened? Salivary alpha amylase acted upon starch, and fewer alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds were broken down, and maltose, limit dextrin, all maltotriose subunits are formed. Here further digestion, little more process of digestion will happen, and here also alpha 1,4 glycosidic bonds are cleaved, and ultimately disaccharides and oligosaccharides will be formed. Okay, and after formation of disaccharides and oligosaccharides, further more digestion process will be happening at upper jejunum or mucosal lining of the upper jejunum. And here what happens? Action of glucoamylase enzyme or maltase enzyme, sucrase enzyme, lactase enzyme will be seen. That means here oligosaccharides will be digested by the action of glucose amylase and amylase. Okay, and here disaccharides like maltose, sucrose and lactose will be digested by the action of maltase, sucrase and lactase to form monomers. That means disaccharide means it contains two monomer forms. So these two monomers will be broke down or cleaved into monomers or monosaccharides. Okay, and here as we take large quantity of sucrose in our diet, sucrase enzyme is capable of hydrolyzing large quantities of table sugar, that is sucrose. And next step is absorption of monosaccharides. That means in the small intestine what happened? All the carbohydrates which are in different forms, like in the polysaccharide form, we can see starch in the polysaccharide form, and these maltose and isomaltoses in disaccharide forms, and limit dextrins in oligosaccharide forms. So all these forms are finally digested to monosaccharide forms. So finally at the end of digestion what we'll see? We'll see the only monomers like glucose, fructose, galactose. These are the monomer forms that we can see. Okay, now these monomers which are produced after the complete digestion of the carbohydrates, these should be absorbed into the body, and absorption process depends on the gradient system. Okay, here this absorption of monosaccharides is dependent on the gradient system, and not all carbohydrates, monosaccharides will share the same absorption mechanism. Here example for the mechanism of absorption is absorption of glucose and galactose. This particular absorption is carried by Na plus gradient mechanism. Okay, this is a carrier mediated and energy required process. Okay, here what happens? Glucose and Na plus they share the same transport system, and
due to the concentration gradient, what happens? These are transported into lumen cell. Okay, if you see the diagram, you can understand clearly. Intestinal mucosal cell, uh, from intestinal lumen, due to the higher concentration in the intestinal lumen, glucose and Na plus ions are Na plus ion move towards the intestinal mucosal cell due to its higher concentration gradient. Along with it, it also take glucose, and after entering the intestinal mucosal cell, it again taken by the capillary cells. That means glucose will be utilized, and the Na plus which entered this intestinal mucosal cell is again transported back into the intestinal lumen by the Na plus K plus transport system. Here what happens? Na plus K plus ATPase is the enzyme which is responsible for the transportation of Na plus into lumen again. Okay, here movement of K plus and Na plus is in opposite direction. That means if Na plus leaves the mucosal cell, K plus will enter the mucosal cell. In that manner, with the help of the enzyme Na plus K plus ATPase, this will move out of the intestinal mucosal cell into intestinal lumen. And here, this particular reaction is an ATP dependent reaction. Here one ATP molecule will be utilized for movement of this Na plus into the intestinal lumen, and finally one ADP molecule and one inorganic phosphate will be released. Okay, this is how digestion of carbohydrates and absorption of carbohydrates will occur. If we see, while eating our food, we'll take different kinds of food material like carbohydrates in the form of rice, proteins in the form of meat, like that. And we also take milk products, and all we eat all types of food stuff. And this is the digestion and absorption process for only carbohydrates. And digestion of proteins is different, and absorption process also will be different, and digestion and absorption of lipids will also be different. Okay, when compared to the digestion of carbohydrates, digestion of lipids and digestion of proteins, this digestion of carbohydrates is very simple. Okay, that means digestion of lipids and digestion of proteins are little more complex when compared to the digestion of carbohydrates. Okay, so this is about digestion of carbohydrates and absorption of carbohydrates. And what is the major function or the major purpose of digestion is to ultimately gain energy. Okay, so please keep material with you while listening to the class. Please verify all classes, and if you have any doubts, please you can ping me on my contact number. Okay, if you have any doubts, please ping, and also refer the material with the video class. Thank you, students.